Hello and good day to everyone. Appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon to join us. We're going to look at the future of reporting, analytics, and data management for Dynamics 365 Business Central. We'll start off with some quick introductions for who your presenters are. So my name is Jonathan Crowell. I am the America's BC product lead for sa.global. And Sean Dorward is on here with us as well, but probably won't be doing any presenting, but support from our executive team. And the star of the show is going to be Anthony Bonaducci, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Anthony.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, everyone. Anthony Bonaducci here with Cosmos Data Technologies. I'm one of the founders at Cosmos. Super excited to show you, how to obtain true lightning fast self-service reporting, analytics, and data management, how to get access to Power BI immediately, all those things that, folks are clamoring for in the, D365 Business Central space. So that's what we'll be covering today. And I believe, Jonathan, you had a quick intro on sa.global as a business. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So sa.global, we have been around for over 30 years, but 11-time Partner of the Year winner, and we've been part of the inner circle for consecutive years as well. We do everything Microsoft. So, we're focusing on the Dynamics 365 Business Central system today and as it relates to the Cosmos reporting system, but we do everything from customer engagement, finance to supply chain management, and all of the Power Platforms. So appreciate the time again, and I can tell you that as a Business Central product lead, we have been on sort of a constant journey for quality reporting solutions for Business Central. So we are super excited to be able to present Cosmos. So Anthony, I'll hand the mic to you so that you can take it from here.
That sounds great. Fantastic. And I got to tell you, I mean, I've worked with sa.global. I've worked with, Sean and Jonathan and many of the folks over there for many years. I mean, it's a great group and, we're excited to be here. So thanks again for having us. But jumping in today, I mean, this is going to be pretty action packed. My goal is not to spend this whole time in a PowerPoint deck because that's not fun for anyone. I want to get in and show the product. But what I would say is, depending on what you're here for, what's interesting, make sure you pay attention because we're going to start off with a little bit of an intro around, Cosmos, the actual product suite, talking about the different components, and then we'll switch gears and we'll talk about, how to build reports, Excel style reports, your financial and operational reports. But then we're going to talk about data analytics and dashboarding and Power BI and how that can be kind of a seamless single solution. And then we'll talk about data management, right? So how to take the data from Business Central or other systems and take that data and consolidate it and put it into a format that's usable by business users. So we're going to go through a lot of different stuff today. I won't read every step in the agenda. You can see that on the screen. But let's jump in because we've got a lot to cover. So real quick, just a intro on us. I'll let you read this, the slide as it is on the screen. I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading stuff that's already written up here. But what I will draw your attention to, and kind of a story I'll tell, is the box in red. So I've been in this space, when I say this space, the reporting and analytics space in the Microsoft channel for over a decade, right? It's my passion, it's what I love to do, and it's what ultimately informed the decision to start Cosmos. But what I've found is I was at a company for many, many years, many of you are probably familiar with, a company called Jet Reports, and kind of grew up with that company in this space. And after that company was acquired, I ended up going to a Microsoft partner. And when I was at this Microsoft partner, we were selling a lot of Business Central Cloud, and we just didn't have a really strong answer for reporting or analytics, as Jonathan sort of mentioned, that was really laminated with cloud and that was built for Business Central. And so what Cosmos is, for all intents and purposes, is the first and only cloud-based reporting and analytics solution that was born in the cloud and built specifically for Business Central Cloud. And so we took that vision and we built it kind of 4 pillars of success for the product. The first is we built it to be lightning fast, right? There was performance complaints with some of the on-premise tools that had existed. Our customers, when I was on the partner side, were frustrated, looking for something better, faster. And so we built this to be very fast. I'll tell you more about that. We built it to be easy to use. So this is a tool that is built with business users in mind, not technical resources. The beauty of that methodology or that approach is technical folks can use a tool that's built for business users, but it doesn't always go the other way, right? So we focused on the business user and enabling those folks, right? We made it secure because we're dealing with data, and fully cloud-based via Microsoft Azure to laminate with that vision that Microsoft is pushing and that so many companies are embracing, which is cloud first. So that's really a little bit about us. Now, what lit our hair on fire was the performance. So we did some benchmarking early on around, Cosmos versus other Excel-based reporting tools, and on average, Cosmos was 48 times faster. We've had customers that have come on board where after they went to BC Cloud, their other reporting tool was taking an hour and a half to run their financial package. The same package runs in Cosmos in 6 seconds, right? That's something that is invaluable to finance and accounting professionals and really just folks looking for reporting in general, right? So getting into the product, what we're going to cover today, the product's broken down into a few different components. So the first thing we're going to look at is the Cosmos portal. And really, being that this is a cloud reporting and analytics solution, everything sort of revolves around the web, revolves around the portal. This is where you're going to go to, author new reports and dashboards, interact with pre-built reports and dashboards, the Cosmos report gallery, manage your users, permissions, security, sharing. I mean, everything here is really where it starts and ends. So we're going to open up the Cosmos portal to kick things off. Then the next logical question is, well, how do I use this thing? What's a day in the life like? How do I go and build a report or a dashboard, right? So I'm going to show you the Cosmos report editor. And the beauty of this timing for this webinar, right, which was carefully planned with our friends at sa.global, is that we just released our Excel add-in v2. So for folks on this call, you're going to see the latest and greatest as far as giving users the ease of use and the tools to self-serve, create their own reports, create their own dashboards. And one of the things that is, often overlooked, but is really important, that our customers love is that fourth bullet point. So our founding team has been working with Business Central and its predecessor Nav for about 40 years combined. And so we know that system like the back of our hands. And so we built Cosmos to have that same level of intelligence. So Cosmos knows how the tables and fields work, how they relate, how to join things together, things that are typically really difficult for a business user. Just because you use Business Central internally doesn't mean that the people that want to build reports know every single table and field and where the data lives and how they relate. And so Cosmos has in essence denormalized the Business Central data into a clean set of tables that users can just frankly report off of. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Then we're going to talk about something that was a really interesting and powerful feature because we did not decide to build this. We asked the Microsoft partner community and our users, what do you want the next major feature to be? And almost unanimously, the response was Power BI integration that is truly seamless, because Power BI is a fantastic tool. If you're not familiar with it, it's a data visualization suite from Microsoft. But if you don't have your data in the format Power BI likes, it is going to be practically unusable for a business user. You're not going to be going in there and writing code and trying to customize APIs, right? And so we made it so that Cosmos can feed the nice clean data model to Power BI, and that Power BI then lives inside of Cosmos. So I'm going to show you this two-way integration, but this is something if you're interested or you've been waffling between a reporting tool or Power BI, it's not an or, it's a both. And I'm going to show you why that is. So we'll look at that. The next thing we'll talk about and final thing we'll wrap up with is the Cosmos data engine. So I won't spend a ton of time on this. This is the less sexy stuff, but very, very important stuff. This is what all of this tool is predicated on, is what's happening behind the scenes. What are we doing with the data? And again, on this slide, you see Microsoft Azure Data Factory, right? Everything we do is tightly integrated with Microsoft. Microsoft is invested in our platform, which we appreciate, but that's because they saw the vision and they know that this is a direction that is going to add a lot of value for their Business Central Cloud customers. So with that, I want to switch gears and get into the fun part, which is the product. So I'm going to flip over here and go to my Cosmos portal. So as a Cosmos customer, what you see is this login page and when you go to our portal. When you click the login button, what it's going to do is it's going to log you in with your Microsoft credentials. Now, I'm an admin user, as you see here, so it takes me to this page. Most users, when they come in, are just going to jump right into their report library, their reports, their dashboards, all that good stuff, and see their version of their portal, if that makes sense. So they're only going to see reports that they built or that were shared with them. So we'll talk about that more later. Now, one of the things I'll point out real quick, because if I don't bring it up, it always comes up, is the actual user side of this. So this is kind of unique. A lot of the tools I've worked with in my career in the Microsoft space, you have to go somewhere else to manage your users. They have a separate licensing portal, or what have you. You have to reach out to them. Everything we do is tightly integrated with Microsoft. So if I want to add a new user and I need to get our new hire John added, I see John's picture from Azure Active Directory, from my Microsoft accounts internally at our organization, and it's very easy to come in and just add John as a user. Is he going to build reports? Let's make him a full user if so. Is he just here to run reports and dashboards? If that's the case, let's put him as a light user. But our full users have the ability to have granular permissions. So let's say John can build reports, he can be able to access dashboards and data visualization. He's not an administrator, and we're not going to give him permission in the back end with the data model, right? Perfect. So John has everything he needs. He can log in with his Microsoft credentials. So it's very, very seamless in that regard. But what I want to focus on for the majority of this is the actual product, the reports, building your reports, running your reports, what that looks like. So if you look at my tenant here, I have a number of reports available to me. The nice part about Cosmos is that it is true cloud. This thing stands up in 20 minutes. So you have everything I'm going to show you today in 20 minutes, including an entire gallery of dozens of reports. And unlike any other tool I've worked with in my career, every single one of these reports works out of the box right after that 20-minute onboarding. So we span areas like sales and finance, inventory, AP, AR, purchasing, all that stuff, all that data, all those reports. The core ones are just out of the box. You can use them on day one immediately after that 20-minute onboarding. So to show what a day in the life is like, as I mentioned, we have full users and light users. Both of those user types are going to spend a lot of time running reports. So, refreshing the data, seeing the data in the report, making their decisions, being a data-driven culture or organization. And so if I look at this income statement by company here, I can click this run button. Over here on the right in Cosmos, we'll see our task pane has a new task denoted by the little star there. So I can pin that, and then I can see the ability to come in and filter on this information. So in this specific report, we give users the ability to toggle between dates, but I'm going to show you in a minute how you can come in and modify any of these or add more filters to a report. Maybe you want to have dates and departments and companies and locations, whatever you want to do, you can give users that ability. But in this report, we allow them to come in and toggle dates. And so in this example, we're looking at June here for 2022. We want to run that for the month, run the report. And what we'll see is that Cosmos is going to spin up behind the scenes. The report is going to go ahead and process all the information and return this. Now, what you'll see in a second is things are going to finish up. That was actually a bit slower than normal because I haven't used this today, so it spun up the Azure resources at the same time. But you'll see here, once your Azure resources are spun up too, just because I'm a big believer of seeing is believing, we'll run that again now that Azure is fired up in this tenant. And we're going to see here that it's going to go off, run the report, and update accordingly. So we'll see here now that the report is already done. This is a Microsoft step to store things behind the scenes. But I can open this up, and in a couple seconds, I have my nice clean income statement by company. In this, Real Business Central tenant, we have two different companies, a Canada company, a USA company, and we can see our nice clean financial statement. So the beauty of this is I'm opening this in Excel online to keep with that cloud first methodology, but Cosmos is the only tool I'm familiar with that is truly cross-platform in the Microsoft space when it comes to reporting. So all of our stuff works in Excel Online, Excel Desktop, Excel for Windows, Excel for Mac. Other tools I've worked with, you can't use it for Mac. So if you got Mac users, they're just out of luck, right? And we wanted to make sure we solved for that because everyone should be able to access their data, when they need it. So that's how you go about running reports. So you click the run button, you come over, you set your filters, and the reports run. They'll stack up here for the session that you're logged in for. If I close out and came back into Cosmos or I refresh, all the report runs will be gone, but that way you have the ability to flip back and forth between the reports you're working on and running and so on and so forth. Now, a couple things that are, kind of bells and whistles. So if we look at this kind of options menu here, one of the things we have is security. So to display that, when I click on the security section, I can see my users within my organization. So this is not a free-for-all. There's security around these reports, who can see them, who can run them, right? So the idea here is one of your full users goes in and loads in a pre-built report or builds a report and then chooses who they want to share it with. So maybe I want to share it with obviously Brian and Jane. I can just check those boxes, save that. And now in Jane's tenant, she'll see that tile. If it's not shared with anyone, it doesn't even exist. They can't even try and click the button because it's just not there. So there's security around all this. And one of the things that finance and accounting folks really like is the ability to come in here and archive their month-end financials or any other financial packages. And so if you look at this report, for example, this is the report I just ran, right? So we just ran it for June. You just saw that. But maybe I want to archive it, right? Well, I can come in here and archive any of these reports at any time by just clicking the archive button. And what that'll do is that will save that report permanently, as well as any messages I add. So maybe I don't know, let's pick this one, but I could say, this is our financial package for, April 23, whatever it is. Add any messages, comments, anything I want to add, and just archive that. And that's going to move permanently down here into the archived runs. So you can see this archived run section. So the nice part about this is you think about a lot of other tools that are Excel based, the report goes into Excel and then users have to come in and download those files or share them off to a network drive and set security or put them up in SharePoint. One of the things that users have asked us to do is to keep reporting in the reporting tool. And so this way, if there's an audit, you have to pull the last 6 months, I should say, you can just come in here and open the last 6 months and send them off to the auditors. You don't have to worry about it, or even give them a license. They can get in and just see this stuff, right? So there's all kinds of, thought put into keeping users in the system. So again, just some of the little bells and whistles, but lightning fast reports on demand, press the run button, change your filters, and off you go. Now, the next thing always we get asked about is, well, how do I build a report? What is that experience like? And as I mentioned, you're all fortunate because you're going to get to see the latest and greatest when it comes to designing reports. And so what I'm going to do, we've been looking at financial data. Let's do something more operational. Let's do like a monthly sales by salesperson or something like that. And you'll see here, you have the ability to check this out into Excel desktop, or if you're good using Excel Online and the cloud first approach, just go ahead and go with the default. So what this is going to do is this is going to drop a new report tile into my workspace. So I want to show that real quick. So if I click back here, what we'll see is we now have this tile for monthly sales by salesperson. So this is the report that I'm working on here in Excel. And think of your workspace as work in progress. So while you're modifying a report, building a new report, what have you, it's going to live here. So if you're modifying a report, maybe I'm modifying this AP detail report, users can keep running that until I check in the new version. It's not going to, give them that report, right? So this is work in progress. That's my workspace. So we can see here we have our monthly sales by salesperson report. First thing I'll do is come in and just kind of do a little bit of formatting. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but just to come through here, let's go country and sales. So maybe that's the general structure that I want to see on my report. So I'll just come through here, clean things up just a bit. I don't want to waste everyone's time on Excel formatting, but that's one of the beauties of Cosmos is you have full flexibility around how you want things to look and how you want the data to be organized. But let's say that that's the template I want to go with. Everything else I do is going to be done through the Cosmos add-in here. So this is the new Cosmos Excel add-in, the V2. And when I click on it, what it's going to do is open up my tool set. Now, if you're familiar with other tools in the space or you've used other products, you might be used to seeing a bunch of little buttons and wizards and things like that. But what we wanted to focus on was keeping things compact and focusing on core functionality, right? So all of this stuff gets rave reviews from customers because basically you have to learn 7 things. Once you know those 7 things, you can build any report you want, right? And it's all done through this same interface. And I'm going to show you most of these things to build out this example. So when you think about how users build a report, step 1 is going to be to add in filters or report options. So to do that in Cosmos, we're going to click New Report Option. And notice we're not sifting through all of Business Central here, right? Business Central has like 1,700 tables, tens of thousands of fields. The average report writer uses like 10 to 15 tables, maybe 100 fields. So we've greatly refined and trimmed down the data set, but there's still a ton here. And this can be modified, customized, but like a good example of what we've done to make this easy for users is sales transactions. All of this information comes from 10 different tables in Business Central. Why should we make the user have to go and join all those tables together to get the info they need? There's no reason for that. So we put it all in one place. Purchase transactions comes from 3 different tables in Business Central. We put it into a single table. So we've just cleaned up the data. And the beauty of this is, even if you're not a database expert, if you need to build a sales report, you can probably figure out where you need to go. There's really only 2 relevant tables, right? So that's what we tried to accomplish here. And again, it's something I think users really, really appreciate. But getting back to what we're doing, we're adding filters, report options. And so maybe I want to have a filter for year. Obviously, I can go to my date table. I can also just filter down the information. So I want to find year. Here's everything that has to do with years. In this case, I want to just grab one for year. Then you'll see there's a few different things we can do, within the actual interface, but all I need to do is just come in and kind of put in a default value. So, when we run the report, we'll be able to toggle between this, or I could hard code filters for users, but that's my report options. Add as many as you want. Maybe you want one for salesperson, for location, for company. It's the same process you just saw me follow, but I'm just going to do one filter, and then we're going to move on to the next step in the report. And I want to show you an interesting piece of functionality, because let's say we have, I don't know, 6 or 7 salespeople in our organization, and maybe we have a monthly sales review coming up with our sales team. And I'm going to sit down with each of them for 30 minutes and go through their numbers and talk about how we can, improve their sales and their, achieve their quota, all that good stuff. So I want a separate report on each sheet for each salesperson. Well, to add that, all I need to do is say, let's get a sheet list. Let's come in here. We'll go to our sales transactions table, and let's just get our salespeople on separate sheets. Everything's sorted alphabetically by default, so you can always come in and change that stuff or delete it, but this is ready to go. I can just click save. And now when this report runs, any salesperson code that has a transaction in this year that we run this for is going to get their own report across the bottom. So that's the sheet functionality. So we've talked about report options, we've talked about sheets. Then we're going to come in and talk about how to get the data into the report itself. And one of the things we developed at Cosmos is this concept called range lists. And this is simpler than it sounds, but it's actually really important because no other tool really does this. We give users the flexibility to control within Excel what's actually being copied and in which direction, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of tools, if you put one of their functions here, everything infinitely is going to copy down depending on how much data gets copied here. So any notes you put in, any side-by-side reports, they're going to get overwritten when this goes. With Cosmos, we can come in here and say, hey, I want to list out my customer numbers. I'll go to sales transactions, and I can use bill to customer. I've got sell to customer, right? I'll just use bill to for example's sake. But what we've done in essence here, and I'll just save that off, is we've said, hey, when this report runs, grab all the customer numbers associated with this salesperson for this time period that we specified in the filter, and just only copy down from A to F. Don't touch anything over here. And what this means is users can come in and have an inventory report side by side, or a different view, or notes, whatever they want, but it's not going to get overwritten when the report runs. And I know that sounds weird, but that's pretty much how every other tool works in our space. So we wanted to make sure users had a lot of control over the regions and space within their workbook. So I've added a range list to go down, but I want this to be monthly sales by salesperson. So I'm going to come in and create a new range list where I want to get my months going across. Now, one thing you'll notice is that Cosmos has little bits of intelligence to help users. If I grab the shape of a row, it knows to copy down in rows. If I grab the shape of a column, it knows we want that to go out in columns. So I'm going to come here and say, I want to get months, and I'm just going to grab the months in the year. I'll take off the sorting here because we don't want those alphabetical, but for most stuff, we're going to want that sorted. So we'll just take it off on this one. We'll click save. And those are going to be our range lists. So all we did in those 2 steps is define data to copy down and data to move out. That's it. Now we're going to come in and we're going to use what's called our field lookups to bring in the detail around my report. And notice all of a sudden, everything's sort of parsed down. There's not that long list of tables and fields because we're surfacing to the user the stuff that's relevant, right? We're not showing them financial information when we're trying to pull name, city, state, and country, right? So Cosmos has so much intelligence around the, Business Central and the data that's just immediately available out of the box to the users. So obviously we're trying to get the name, city, state, country of our Bill to customer. So come into Bill to customer and grab the customer name, grab the city, grab the state, the country name, and that's it. And then finally, I'll show you how to bring in the total sales by month. And for that, we use what's called an aggregate function, which is just a sum here in this case. And we're going to come into our sales transactions. We're going to take our sales and we're going to sum up those values. That's it. I can come in here and put a total. I can do just a quick alt equals here to shortcut to get myself a sum. I can come over here, put any sort of formatting I want to see on the actual report. Maybe I want to bold this, maybe I want that in this format. But the beauty of this is I've been authoring this in Excel Online, so I can just close out of this. Everything's been saving as I go. Now we give users full flexibility to drag an image on here, use the file browser to grab an image. It could be a company logo, a screenshot of the report, whatever you want. But just so there's no smoke and mirrors, everything we have has an image. I'm going to check this into production here. So my report is ready to go. We see that we have this blank report. That's the one I just built. And I'm going to come over here, run my report. There's that year filter we specified. And I can just come in, pop in a date. Maybe I just picked 2020, I don't know. And I'm going to click the run button. So we can see now in our activities, something different is about to happen because all of a sudden, Cosmos has said, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 salespeople that had transactions in 2020. And so we're going to build a report for every single one of them on a separate sheet. So in those, 3, 4 seconds, Cosmos just built out a 7-sheet report here inside of Excel based on the way we specified that we wanted to see everything. So you can see across the bottom, we have our different salespeople. Each one got their own sheet. And now as a sales manager, I can sit down with whoever salesperson AH is and just say, hey, here's your sales. Here's how things are going. Let's talk about this. Here's your quota, whatever it is, right? And then I can have the next meeting and they can walk in. I can flip to the next sheet. And so you can imagine the use cases on these sheets that you can do. Maybe you have different locations or different stores or different salespeople as we see here. You have full flexibility over that. And one really cool thing with Cosmos that no other tool I'm familiar with does is the ability to have hierarchies or nesting in the sheets. So we worked with a customer this morning. They have like 50 different franchise locations. And so they want to have roll up financials for franchise 1 and then financials by department for that franchise. Then roll up financials for franchise 2 and then financials by department. You can have multiple levels of sheet lists within Cosmos so that you could have, sales by salesperson and then sales by product group and then sales by salesperson and then sales by our different product groups, right? So you can have the ability to create 2 or 3 sheets in Cosmos and have 100 sheets come out. You only built 2 or 3 of them. Cosmos does the rest, right? So it's very, very simple and very scalable in that regard. So we've talked about, how to run reports. We've talked about how to build reports. And one thing I always mention with us, we love making sure our customers can actually use this thing. You're investing time and money, you should be getting a lot out of it. All of our training is free on demand. You can access it through our website here. Just click on training and go down to training videos in the knowledge base. All the training's compartmentalized, ready to go. We do not charge for training. Again, very unique compared to every other tool I've worked with. And we also have a very robust knowledge base. So if you're in the middle of a report and you're thinking, how do I do account grouping again? I just need a refresher, but I don't want to reach out or get billed to have to get a quick answer. You can come in here and there's a training video. There's also a KB article. And on any of these articles, there is a video, because some people prefer that. Other people just want to, look at the screenshots, see how to follow along. Every single one of these couple hundred KB articles has both of these things. There's a video and there's kind of screenshots and text. So I don't expect you to walk away from this and think, oh, I'm an expert in Cosmos, although hopefully you thought that's definitely something I can do. So that's the reporting side of the product. Now, in today's business world, reports are not good enough. I think I'll talk more about that, but that's kind of my bold statement, right? You can't just run your business out of Excel anymore. You're missing opportunities. You're not seeing trends. You're not seeing the full picture. On the other hand, you don't just want to run your business off a visualization suite. You can't just look at charts and graphs and know what's actually happening. You need the transactions, you need the detail. So you really want a kind of a synergy between those two beliefs. And so what we were asked to build, as I mentioned early on, was an integration with Microsoft Power BI. So this is Power BI Desktop, if you're not familiar with this. As I mentioned, this is a data visualization suite from Microsoft, and it's very, very strong on the data viz side. Its weakness is actually the data itself. And I say that in the context of business users, because Power BI is what's called a BYOD tool, bring your own data. If your data is not in the format you want, you're going to spend a lot of time or a lot of money getting that data into a usable format for Power BI. Otherwise, you're going to come in here, you're going to write SQL, DAX code, you're going to have to denormalize the database for all these different reports, and that's going to stop almost all your business users in their tracks. So what we developed at the request of the market was a direct API to our Cosmos data model, which I'm going to talk about here in a bit. So for our users, they come in, they type api.cosmosdatatech.com, blah, blah, blah. They click OK. And then the data is there, ready for Power BI. They can pull in sales info. They can pull in finance, inventory, AP, AR, purchasing, anything they've built custom in the platform. But they don't have to write a drop of code along the way. And now that my data's in there, it's extremely easy as a user, without being technical, without even knowing Power BI, to come in and say, okay, well, I need sales reporting. Excuse me. I can look at this and I can tell instantly that I need to go to probably sales transactions. So I want to bring in sales by salesperson. Again, I tell people all the time, I can teach you this in 30 seconds if you have your data ready to go. I want to bring in sales. I want to bring in salesperson. There's our first visual for our dashboard. I want to bring in sales and I want to see what we're selling. Let's go to items. Let's bring in item category description. Okay, there's what we're selling. Okay, I want to see where we're selling it. So let's bring in sales and let's go to our customers and let's figure out where they're located. Great, there's our sales by state. And let's put that on some sort of visual. Perfect. Now I can come in and look at Antone and see specifically where his largest customers are, what he's selling, or maybe I want to look at Jessica and see what she's selling, right? This gives users the ability to literally just drag and drop. You don't have to use any of the data tools. You don't have to modify stuff. You don't have to write code. Everything's ready to go. So we solved that side of things very quickly, very easily, but this gives users a ton of value, and it really makes Power BI usable on day one. All your data's there, just drag and drop what you want to see. But then there's this issue of, well, now we have data silos, because now we have some data we look at that lives in Power BI. We have other data that looks at, lives in Cosmos, and we have other data that lives in Business Central. So how can we bring all that together? And so we wanted to bring this full circle, because when you're done with a Power BI report or a dashboard, you're going to publish it up to powerbi.com, and that's where it's going to live. But maybe you don't want to have multiple tabs and go to Power BI for certain things. So what we did is we built an integration to surface Power BI to the user that's logged in inside of Cosmos. So we've been looking at our Excel style financial and operational reports. When I click on Power BI, I'm already logged in with my Microsoft credentials. So what Cosmos does is it makes a call to powerbi.com and it says, show all the reports, dashboards, and workspaces that Anthony has access to, and show them here in Cosmos. So I see this executive sales dashboard. I can open it up. I can sign in, since I haven't signed in today, but I'll sign into this. And the beauty of this is, just to show you what that looks like if I don't have to sign in, is I click on it, I view it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving Cosmos. If you look at the URL, this is literally Power BI inside of Cosmos. So I can come in here and slice and dice and do my analysis. Everything's interactive. And one of the things that's super powerful is when your data is cleaned up and in the format Power BI likes, you can be in a meeting and your boss can say, well, what were sales last year, right? And the answer is usually, well, I don't know. Let me get back to you, right? With Cosmos, you can come in and use natural language to query your data and actually see it just sort of update and snap together. Power BI will build the visual for you. But if I close out of this, I'm right back to Cosmos. So people ask me all the time, should I use a reporting tool or Power BI? And the answer is you should use both. They're both really powerful, but they're both different. You're not going to do your financial statements in Power BI. You don't want your financials to be, this type of format. You want visualization, analysis, macro level views. That's what this is for. Trends throughout the month, the year, what have you, your KPIs. That's what Power BI is really good at. But Excel is still your wheelhouse when it comes to financial statements and being able to see that row column format that so many people want. So that's the idea, between the integrations there. The last piece I'll mention is just the data management behind the scenes. And so, again, Cosmos is built specifically for Business Central Cloud. We can see here that we have access to all the companies in your BC tenant. A lot of other tools in our space, they charge you for every company you want to pull data from. Doesn't make a lot of sense to us. We just include that. So if you had multiple companies or you just added a company, you can come sync up here, check that button, and your data will start pulling in for that company. I guess I'll just close out of that. And then down here at the bottom, this is not a blank canvas. So like I said, our leadership team alone has been working with NAV and BC for 40 years, whatever it is. We know what people want to see when it comes to inventory and sales and GL and all those things you see. So we have an extensible gallery for the data model as well. So as part of that 20-minute onboarding, we can come in and say, oh, you're a services business? No worries. We're going to bring in everything but the inventory stuff, since you don't have inventory, right? So it's extensible in that regard that you can have, maybe you just moved to Business Central and you only use GL and sales. Well, we'll bring in the rest of the stuff later. Let's just bring in GL and sales for now. So there's normally an import button next to these. I already have them all imported, obviously. And then one of the really unique things, this is probably the coolest feature of the back end, is almost everything in the Microsoft space doesn't read everything inside of Business Central. If you look at Microsoft's pre-built kind of out-of-the-box connector for Power BI, you get like a micro fraction of the actual tables and fields. In Cosmos, we have access to everything in your BC tenant. Custom tables, custom fields, ISV tables, per tenant extensions, anything in your BC tenant, Cosmos has access to. So you can see there's tons of stuff out of the box, but we're not going to bring in stuff from the, I don't know, whatever table you're looking at that we're not bringing it in, right? I mean, pick one of these. You're not going to use the batch processing session map table for reporting typically. So why even show that to users? It's just more stuff for them to get lost and confused in. But you can see that as we scroll through this, there's lots of tables we are bringing information in. And that's because those are the commonly used tables for reporting in these different areas. So here's all the tables we're pulling data from out of the box, but you have full flexibility to come in and grab data from anything else you'd like. And there's no coding required, as I mentioned. There's training on the data model section. So, people in-house can come and do this. And if not, you've got a great partner like sa.global that can help you with any of this data modeling or data aspects behind the scenes. Finally, last two little pieces here. So there's a transformation section, and this is where you can get into like heavy data modeling, like data warehousing and the stuff that so many businesses want to do. You don't have to use it, but maybe I want to come in here and look up information for my customers across different tables, or maybe I want to do a calculated field. Maybe I want to come in here and have some crazy business logic that's unique to us where, I'm going to come in and grab all my invoices that start with these numbers, and then I'm going to go ahead and take those and add in the taxes that we, had to pay, and then I'm going to subtract only the customers that start with this or that, right? Like you can come in here and create fields within your reporting database that are super complex if you want. That's available. So there's tons of horsepower in this. But with all the out-of-the-box stuff, most of our customers don't have to do a lot of this. It's there if they need it. It's there if they want it. And then finally, what gets shipped to the users, what you saw me using in Excel and in Power BI is the data model here. So the ability to actually just see a clean, consolidated set of data that's available to business users, that makes sense to business users. I talked about how we're consolidating data down. I mean, if I click on in my purchasing table, you can see we're pulling from the value entry table, the purchase credit memo line, the purchase invoice line. Users don't need to worry about that. They just know if they need purchasing information, they click on purchase transactions. So can't be understated how valuable the back end of this product is, but that's what really powers all of it. Obviously, what most folks care about are the reports, the dashboards, and the way to consume the actual data on a day-to-day basis. So that's really what I wanted to show on the product itself. What I'm going to do is just flip back real quick here and just leave you with a little bit of food for thought. So this was a study that was published by the Harvard Business Review Analytics Services Group. And they said companies who embrace a data-driven culture experience a 4 times improvement in revenue performance and better customer satisfaction. That's what they found. And the link to that is on my screen here. But with that, I want to just say thank you to everyone. I've got Jonathan's email up here on the screen, I should say, as well as my own email. If you have questions, we'll respond to anything that was entered into the chat or the questions area. I will follow up with you, but feel free to reach out. I mean, this is stuff we love to talk about. You've got a super sharp partner in sa.global. Obviously, this is what we do for a living at Cosmos, and we're happy to follow up on any of this. So Jonathan, team, anything you want to add, or are we good to give people a little bit of time back?
Well, I always love giving time back in the day, but I will say, Anthony, every time I see your solution, I just become more and more impressed. So we're really appreciative of the time that you spent with us today. And just to reiterate what you mentioned about, companies needing not just a financial reporting tool and a BI tool, or one or the other, rather, that you do need both, right? And that's the trend that we're seeing a lot of our clients headed towards. So excited to have this type of solution to offer. And again, reach out to us if you have any questions or if you're interested in learning more. We're certainly here. So we can give approximately 15 minutes of your afternoon back, and thank you all. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. We appreciate you guys, and thanks for attending, everyone. Talk to you soon.